Hi, this is Mrs. Robertson. Today we are going to learn how to subtract linear expressions. We are going to go to page 404 in your math book. This is Chapter 5, Lesson 7. Now, when subtracting linear expressions, you subtract like terms. Use zero pairs if needed. All right, I'm sure that's a little confusing to some of you. We're going to look at the examples here, and they have the tiles here to help you understand what we are doing. So here we start off with 6x plus 3. You have 6 of the x, long green rectangular tiles, and 3 of the squares. Now you need to take away 2 of the x's and 2 of the tiles. What do you end up with? 4x plus 1. All right, it's pretty easy when you look at the tiles here to figure this one out. Let's go to example number 2. 2x minus 3 minus x minus 2. Well, here we have 2x and we have minus 3 are the 3 red squares. Now, it says you're going to subtract 2. So you remove 2 of the red square tiles, and you remove 1 of the green rectangular tiles, and you end up with x plus negative 1. All right? Now that is pretty easy when you have the tiles, but it's not always going to be that easy whenever you don't have the tiles to use. So we're going to talk about how to use the additive inverse to subtract. So we're going to skip A and B for now because we're not going to draw the tiles. We're going to move on to example 4 on page 405. And here we are going to learn how to use the additive inverse to subtract. So what does that mean? We have to get rid of all of the subtraction signs, just like we normally do whenever we are dealing with expressions. So in example 4, you have a subtraction sign. We need to get rid of it. So you add the opposite. Now that's like a negative 1 in front of 3x plus 1. Now we're going to apply the distributive property here. Negative 1 times 3x will give you negative 3x plus negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your 6x plus 5. Below it, you're going to put your negative 3x plus a negative 1. And now we will solve this. 6x plus a negative 3x or minus 3x will give you the answer 3x. And 5 plus a negative 1 or minus 1 will give you 4. And that is how you get the answer 3x plus 4. Now let's look at example 5. In example 5, we have to remove the subtraction signs. So add the opposite, add the opposite. Now that's a negative sign. Here though, add the opposite. That's now a negative 1 outside. We have to use the distributive property. Negative 1 times negative 5x, negative 1 times negative 2. So this will be negative 1 times negative 5x, that becomes a positive 5x, plus negative 1 times negative 2 now becomes a positive 2. So let's line these up. You will have negative 4x plus negative 7, and then below it you're going to put your 5x plus 2. Now negative 4x plus 5x leaves you with a 1x plus negative 5, which is the same thing as x minus 5, and that would be your answer. All right, now let's go back and I think, well, let's just go ahead and do E and F down below before we go back and do the other examples. All right. First, in letter E, remove all the subtraction signs. Add the opposite. Add the opposite. Now that is negative 1. You must take negative 1 times 2x and negative 1 times 7. That will produce negative 2x plus negative 7. Now we are going to line our terms up. You have 4x plus negative 3. Below it, you're going to put a negative 2x plus a negative 7. Draw your line. 4x plus negative 2x is 2x. Negative 3 plus negative 7 is negative 10. The answer, 2x plus negative 10 or 2x minus 10. They both say the same thing. All right, let's do letter F. Remove the subtraction signs. Add the opposite, add the opposite. You must take negative 1 times 2x and negative 1 times 3. Negative 1 times 2x, negative 2x, plus negative 1 times 3, negative 3. Now let's line up our terms. Here we have 5x plus negative 4, negative 2x plus negative 3. All right, so now in this problem, you will have 3x plus negative 7 or 3x minus 7. Both of these answers would be counted correct. All right, let's go up to example 3, and we're going to do examples C and D to practice. All right, here we go. Step 1. We must remove our subtraction signs. There are many of them in this problem. Add the opposite, add the opposite, add the opposite. Now, why do we have to multiply by a negative 1? Because this is in between parentheses. So that is why we have to do that. So, you're going to take negative 1 times 5x and negative 1 times a negative 4. Negative 5x plus 4. Negative 1 times negative 4 is a positive 4. Now we're going to line up our terms. 3x plus negative 2. Negative 5x plus 4. 3x plus negative 5x, negative 2x. Negative 2 plus 4 is 2. So the answer for this problem, C, will be negative 2x plus 2. That is your answer. Now let's go to letter D. In letter D, once again, remove the subtraction signs. Add the opposite, add the opposite. Must multiply that and that. You must multiply them both by a negative 1. So this will be negative 1 times negative 2x is positive 2x, and negative 1 times 2 is a negative 2. Let's line up our terms. 4x plus negative 4, 2x plus negative 2. When I combine my terms, you end up with a 6x plus negative 6, or 6x minus 6. Both of those would be counted as the same answer. All right, now let's move on to the next page, page 406, example 6. In the word problem, A hat store tracks the sale of college and professional team hats for M months. The number of college hats sold is represented by 6M plus 3. The number of professional hats sold is represented by 5M minus 2. Write an expression to show how many more college hats were sold than professional hats. Then evaluate the expression if M equals 10. Well, when it asks how many more, that means you're going to subtract. So here we have 6M plus 3 minus 5M minus 2. First thing, remove the subtraction signs. Add the opposite, add the opposite. You now will have 6M plus 3. Negative 1 times 5M is negative 5M. Negative 1 times negative 2 is 2. So I'm going to put negative 5M plus 2. 6M minus 5M will leave you with 1M. 3 plus 2 is 5. You could also write it as M plus 5. Now, that is your expression. Now we're going to replace the M with the value of 10. So 1 times 10 would be 10. And then 10 plus 5 will give you the answer 15. Let's do the guided practice together before I give you your assignment. Page 406. If you want to do these, put this on pause and then check to see if your answers are correct. That will be fine. Welcome back. I'm going to go ahead and do these answers for you so you can check to see if your answers are correct. Remove subtraction signs. Distribute. Use the distributive property. That'll be a positive x plus a negative 5. Line up your terms. I'm just going to put 2x under this one. I end up with the answer of 3x plus a negative 1, or 3x minus 1. Both of those would be considered correct. Let's go to number 2. Remove the subtraction sign. Add the opposite. Add the opposite. So now you will have negative 7x plus negative 1 times negative 1 is a 1. All right, how did I get just to draw the arrows to show you how that happened? I will put the 6x under this, the 9 under that one. You end up with negative x plus 10. All right, number 3. Here you will refer to example 6. The number of runs scored by the home team at a baseball game is represented by x plus 7. The number of runs scored by the visiting team is represented by 3x minus 7. Write an expression to find how many more runs the home team scored than the visiting team. How many more means we will be subtracting. So with this one, you will have on this problem, all right, so we will have x plus 7 in parentheses minus 3x minus 7 in parentheses. Remove the subtraction signs, add the opposite, add the opposite. So you're going to take a negative 1 times 3x, making it a negative 3x, plus a negative 1 times negative 7, making that a 7. Let's line up our terms. X plus 7. We end up here, negative 3x plus x is 2x. 7 plus 7 is 14. 2x plus 14, excuse me, negative 2x plus 14. Now, if the value of x is 6, then you're going to replace x with 6. So you will have negative 2x, negative 2 times 6 plus 14, that'll be negative 12, plus 14 gives you the answer of 2. So it's 2 runs. Now your homework assignment for tonight or today is going to be to do the problems on page 407, do 1 to 9. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.